Hello, welcome to the Double Jab, the best combat sports news in the nation. This is going to be our first episode. This week, we're going to be getting into the Canelo Bivol fight, the Charles Oliveira scale scandal, Rose Namajunas losing her belt to Carla Esparza, the Tony Ferguson horrific knockout, and Daniel Cormier being inducted in the UFC Hall of Fame. Thank you for watching. Let's get into the Canelo versus Bivol fight. This is probably one of the most intriguing fights I think of the entire year in boxing. Just because it's a just because it's a Canelo fight, but two, Bivol looks to be the next up. This kid looks to be the next boxing great to me. His skills, his technique, the way he moves around a fighter is insane. The way he uses his jab doesn't allow the other fighter to see correctly and doesn't allow him to get his shots off the way he wants. He is going to be an amazing fighter, and I genuinely cannot wait to see what this kid produces for the future of boxing. His his combos alone sitting there, and you'll see it. What he does is he'll do that jab, and he's so clean with that straight that he just comes straight, like literally it's perfect. That's why I think he has some of the best technique in boxing. And that's why I think making the comparison of Triple G and Dimitri Bivol is, I think it's good. It's a perfect comparison. That's how it looked. It looked like Canelo was in a Triple G fight again. And that's why I think if Canelo takes that Triple G rematch, it won't go good for him. I think what he does is he rematches Bivol again, gets that experience against a fighter like that again. I mean, he already has a more experience than any boxer right now, but still, I think if he gets that one more fight and wins, he should fight Triple G after that. But I don't see him rematching Triple G after this. I think this is probably one of the biggest stories coming out of the weekend, and it's Oliveira missing weight and being stripped of the lightweight belt. And I think it's very scandalous in the sense that every single story coming out of the UFC is that somebody fucked with the scale. Even Dana White says it. Somebody messed with the scale. Some dickheads were down there fucking with it. Oh, there was these people. Oh, it was these people. Who the fuck knows? So officially, Oliveira comes in a weight at 155.5 pounds, a half over the limit for a lightweight title fight. So when you fight, you're given a pound grace period, a pound grace. So in a title fight, you're not given any grace. That's why you have to be right on the money. But and here's the weird thing. Oliveira is saying that he was half a pound under on Thursday, the day before weigh-ins. That night that's when they weighed themselves. And he said he hadn't consumed a single thing all the way up until about 1 p.m., 12 p.m., I would say. Didn't consume any water, food, anything. And so he goes the first attempt, doesn't make it. So he takes his underwear off, still doesn't change. So he's like, okay, that's kind of weird. They give him an hour to lose the point 0.5. And so he goes, does the cutting. I mean, even if you touch yourself for an hour, you're gonna lose 0.2 pounds. But still 155.5. So what happens is the title becomes vacant, and the only person that can win the title in the fight is Justin Gaethje. But we all know that Justin Gaethje gets choked the fuck out, like just wah, 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 wah. And just throws a hard scarf on that little boy. But it's so crazy because of how many claims were coming out. It's Oliveira's team. You have so many people. You get Ariana Carnelosi tweeted this. Congrats to the genius that messed with the fighter's scale, leaving it with a point 0.5 difference. We only found out when we were informed as we were coming down to check our official weight. Luckily, I was under, so that didn't hurt me. I mean, they're literally being informed by UFC staff that the scales are messed up and you might be off. And Daniel Cormier had to tweet this. If the scale being heavy is true, that cannot happen. An unfortunate turn at UFC 274. I mean, these are each within 15 minutes of each other. So, of course, they all know something. There's stuff coming out the whole time, and this really screws up Oliveira's legacy. He'll never be able to beat Khabib's defense or title defenses. Never be able to beat that record. And it that sucks because this is a man's legacy they fucked with after just fucking with the scale. Another big thing. I mean, this whole weekend is just insane. The UFC 274, the Canelo fight, Rose Namajunas losing title fight to Carla Esparza. I thought this is crazy because throughout this whole year and last year, I'm thinking Weili is taking it. Weili is gonna take the title from Rose. Weili is gonna destroy her. No, like it's so weird because I'm the biggest. I love Thug Rose. I love Thug Rose, and I've loved her since the beginning, since Tough, since she had her long hair, and she was like, yeah, since the beginning. And I really thought Weili was gonna be the one that comes in and just boom, boom. But no, she just defies the odds, but comes in here and is scared to wrestle with Carla Esparza, and you're just wondering what happened. Why are you so timid to go in there and throw your kicks and throw your strikes? But with Weili, it was, let's get in close and let's knock this bitch out. What the hell is the difference? Just because she can wrestle? And Rose had so much more to say outside the cage than she really did to do inside the cage.
I won that fight. I stuck to the strategy. I felt like as if I landed more shots. I even took her down. None of her takedowns were significant or any control time. I mean, she hit me with, I'd say, one good punch. And then maybe another time, like her forearm clashed into my nose at some point as we're like both standing up. But other than that, maybe a couple low kicks, but I didn't feel them or anything. So I felt like I did the damage. I controlled the fight, and I'm proud of myself because I stuck to my strategy. That's because I know that, like, in all of Carla's fights, she just baits people in and she tries to get people to attack her. So it's like,
no, it was horrible. It was a horrible fight.
What's up, guys? It's Quandale Dingle here. I have been arrested for multiple crimes, including battery on a police officer, grand theft, declaring war on Italy, and public indecency. I will be escaping prison on March 28th. After that, I will take over the world.
You can't have that for a title fight, and especially a co-main. If you're co-maining for the UFC, especially now, you have to throw bangers. Get in there, get in tough. If she wrestles, she wrestles. It's the UFC. That's how it works. And even Dana White didn't think the fight mattered.
Seemed like they didn't want to engage. I think there was a total of 6 punches thrown the first round. So that's a tough one. It happens sometimes.
Rose was just here. She said she thought she won. She wasn't sure why. I mean, did you think that it was more competitive or that Rose may have won?
I don't even know, man. I started like zoning out like halfway through it, so I don't know.
I guess last question for me is, because of the way that fight played out, would you ever look at pairing them together a third time, or do you now look at that as like, I'm not going to do that fight ever again?
I don't think anybody's clamoring for that rematch.
Is that good when the president of your fighting company zoning out halfway through your fight as a co-main title holder? No. That's why she lost. She didn't lose because she got beat. She beat herself because she was scared. She would have gone in and fought like she did against Weili. She would have whooped her ass. And that's why this fight pisses me off so much, because she should have won. This should have been an easy win. And it's crazy because it's almost like, holy crap, the women's division is totally shifting. Amanda Nunes loses. Rose loses. It's like, holy fuck. Women's division is on its fucking back, flipped 180. What the fuck is going on? And I think UFC is just getting crazier and crazier. and more eventful with each event. So I think one of the most sensational moments from the entire weekend is the UFC finally announcing the induction of Daniel Cormier into the Hall of Fame. And I think we haven't really been waiting for this in a sense, but just more like waiting for when it's gonna happen. Like, we all knew it was coming. I don't think it's been too long. I mean, he retired in 2020, so I mean, 2 years later is pretty good, especially compared to the NFL where it takes 10, 15 years or whatever. And Daniel was a former two-time champion, or two-division champion, I mean, my bad. And he had a professional record of 22-3. And before joining the UFC, Daniel would compete in the Olympics in 2004 and 2008. In 2004, he'd get 4th place, and in 2008, he'd be named team captain. And so it's crazy because he's finally named team captain. He's doing amazing. He's winning all these gold medals in these U.S. nationals, and like, he wins the Pan American Games, everything. And he gets there, and he's pulled from competition for kidney failure from excessive weight cuts, and it sucks. And he's down. He's sad. So after the 2008 Olympics, he wanted to pursue a career in MMA, and he began to train with Cain Velasquez, John Fitch, and Josh Koscheck at American Kickboxing Academy. And Daniel would finally make his professional debut in September of 2009 for Strikeforce, but eventually he'd fight in the Australian MMA league called Extreme MMA. He would win a heavyweight title from Josh Barnett in Strikeforce in May of 2012. Daniel would finally make his UFC debut in April of 2013 against Frank Mir and would win by unanimous decision. He would actually headline his first event against John Jones in January of 2015 and would lose by unanimous decision. This would actually spark a huge rivalry in the UFC, and that would actually make the UFC probably millions of dollars just in their pay-per-views alone. Daniel would win the light heavyweight belt against Anthony Joshua in May of 2015, and he'd lose it to John Jones in July of 2017, but it would eventually be overturned to a no contest due to Jones testing positive for the steroid Turinabol. And the crazy thing about that is his first test was tested before the fight and tested positive, and they knew, and they had to send off a test B to make sure it happened after the fight, and they let him fight and keep the title for a while until they eventually told Daniel that they had to strip it. And this is really crazy. That's probably the worst part, I would say, of Daniel's entire career is this John Jones era, or this John Jones arc where it's him and his proverbial enemy, John Jones, where they're in this fight against each other. It's the holy guy, the good guy, versus this horrible guy who's a druggie, steroid abuser. And it's this perfect thing that kind of created a lot of views for the UFC. And it kind of shaped Daniel. Not shaped it, but it kind of gave his career at the end a boost. And in July 2018, Daniel would beat Stipe Miocic to win the heavyweight championship and become a two-division champion. He would defend the heavyweight belt once against Derek Lewis, then lose twice in a row to Stipe Miocic. Afterwards, Daniel would retire. And once he goes into retirement, Daniel starts doing commentary for the UFC, and he co-hosts a weekly show for ESPN called DC and RC. Daniel is probably one of the best lightweight fighters. Not heavyweight. Good heavyweight fighter. But I think he's a better lightweight fighter. He's very small in stature, so that gives him a very large disadvantage for heavyweight. Light heavyweight, it's still like, but heavyweight, it's just too hard. He was such an amazing wrestler, striker, and that's the crazy thing is that he started as a wrestler and became such a good striker in the end. And you just couldn't beat him for such a long time. I mean, he was undefeated for 5-6 years plus. So he is gonna go down as one of the greats. So probably the best knockout of the weekend comes from Michael Chandler. And I've never seen someone's face be molded so differently during a slow-mo worse than I did Tony Ferguson's. Holy shit. Michael Chandler literally put that man on the stretcher. He turned El Kakui into... I mean, dude, I was scared for him. I didn't know what was happening at one point. I literally thought I was in another universe when I saw that leg come out of Doctor Strange's fucking asshole. I was scared. I know he was scared. This is just proving to me that Michael Chandler is continuing to grow his game. And it really sucks for him, but it's going to prove how good of a fighter and how good of a warrior he truly is, because he is in the probably the greatest division in the UFC right now, and you can say that about a lot of divisions. There's a lot of good fighters in the UFC, and I think the lightweight division has a bunch of them, because you got Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Islam Makhachev, Beneil Dariush. I mean, that division can't get better than it already is. It's just so hard to see where Michael Chandler goes from here. Probably a fight against Dariush, I think. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe Gaethje, since he's coming off a loss against Charles Oliveira. But that's all I really see coming from that. And the sad thing is, Tony Ferguson is probably done now. He's on a 4-fight loss streak. 38 years old. Who knows if they're gonna sign him again? He's taking so much damage that I think he's done. Tony Ferguson I think he's just finally done. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Double Jab, the best combat sports news in the nation. If you want to subscribe to our new sports channel, press here. If you want to subscribe and check out our other channel, the Swamp Talk Podcast or production channel, right here. Thanks for watching. Love y'all. Be safe. Subscribe and